race here at Lanes Raceway, July the 23rd, 2023. We got several racers about here today. Gabriel Kirtley back, ready to put another race up on the board for him. Also, Guillermo Sire going to add another one to him today. Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burden, Tom Payton, Paul Woosley, and Action Jackson from our rookie series is going to get involved in this today. So stay tuned. I'm going to give a call out to our racers. Go racing. All right, racers, watch your lights. Go, you know the deal. 4 lights red, drop out to a green, and we go racing. My wife there, track marshalling. Gabriel Kirtley there on the top side of the donut. Action Jackson eager to put a car on there in his green shirt there at the end of the donut. Got under the bridge call and a yellow flag. Track freshly glued right before the race. Sire's car there. Peyton, both of these guys running a stagger style car setup with their left tire a hardened low profile tire and their right tire a soft fish rubber tire to get that grip around the donut track, helping them get those faster lap times. Paul Woosley, Randy Kirtley out in the lead right now, followed by Guillermo and Tom Payton. Get a wreck there in the middle of the track. Glenn Burden towards the bottom there for that wreck. With his new body he got on, he's been packing heat there Thursday. He was running very, very fast. Paul Woosley back in quick fashion. You see him coming around the donut there. Right behind him, Randy Kirtley in. So these are your front 2 runners here. Randy just trying to keep balance there behind him. Maybe put a little pressure on Paul Woosley as we see Paul Woosley there getting involved in Kirtley making the pass. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to boil down to that. Just that's half of a lap right there. Just from getting involved in pushing hard there on Black Lane. So now Randy Kirtley's take over that lead. We see him coming up underneath the bridge around the donut as he's in no man's land trying to reel in a couple of these drivers, and it looks like he just came off. And we get a track call here as Guillermo car goes flying off the top side of the bridge. Gabriel Kirtley there, another car put on. So we got Guillermo and Randy Kirtley, Glenn Burden, I'm sorry. Guillermo and Glenn Burden side by side with Tom Payton now in the lead. Tom Payton there on green lane as he rounds about. See Randy Kirtley coming off yet again there on orange. Paul Woosley now in the lead as he takes it back over there on Black Lane. He's just a little bit ahead of, and get another track call there as cars in the back stretch. Those cars, Burden, the other car, Tom Payton. Payton looking at the car there on the back stretch, pummeling. Button my wife, appreciate that. We're going back green racing. Tom Payton having some car here. Paul Woosley, your leader, followed by Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire getting held up there. But Guillermo stopping quick enough to not cause any. Guillermo trying to reel in Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley actually gaining.
Get ready.
Quite a few track calls already today. Tom Payton gets the car put back on as he goes to race. Tom Payton now moved all the way to the back side there. Troubles he had with his car. Guillermo Sire coming off the track there, gets put back on. Track. Burden's car comes, steps off there on.
Get ready.
There on Black Lane as he goes really in. Burden that pass there on Black Lane. Paul Woosley's car there definitely told the fastest here today. Continuing on from where he had last week, running a very fast consecutive race. Thinking that his motor's getting down a little bit and he might have to do a little bit of a motor replacement, but we'll see how that goes. That's right now. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It comes to real end. Our third place, Guillermo Sire here around the back stretch under the bridge. Randy Kirtley coming off there on orange lane gets put back in. and we see that neck and neck race there coming underneath the bridge. He does pass Guillermo's orange car there on yellow, making that outside pass. He comes off though, getting the outside wall there, losing a little bit of time. Now he's going to have to reel in Guillermo yet again, make that lap pass. But right now, 2 laps ahead of all the other competition, doing very well, maybe pushing for adding to the overall laps that he has gotten. Of course, running most laps that we've seen in the Olympic Thunder Series last week. I can't remember exactly how many it was, but it was quite a few over, I think 6 or 7 laps over what Randy Kirtley ran previously. He still hasn't broke into the 90 lap range yet to beat or tie Randy Kirtley's record. There on the side, he's going to make that pass on Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire there on yellow lane. Both of them neck and neck, neither one of them giving it. As they come into some traffic coming up next to Burden, Guillermo has to let off a little, allowing Paul Wood to go on by, but he's able to make that pass on Glenn Burden there, kind of a little bit slower pace, but Guillermo and Glenn running pretty good. Glenn lets off, letting Kirtley come on by there on the orange lane. 66, 66, and 69 laps difference. Paul Woosley's car screaming out there, folks. On the inside of him, a dive bomb pass done by Tom Payton right there before the track call, but got hit. Randy Kirtley's car coming. Possible that his tires are getting to the point where he might need tires here. Trevor Kirtley saying his guide flag weight came out, so this could be an issue by Randy Kirtley's balance. His car starting to come out a little bit. Paul Woosley, your current leader. Paul Woosley out in front of Tom Payton and Guillermo Sire as they come around the donut track here through the horseshoe. You can see that they're kind of holding to Paul. So Paul's just getting just a little bit extra around the donut portion of the track, giving him a bit more advantage. Payton comes to the bridge, leaving Guillermo Sire there on the back stretch with Paul Woosley fighting saves those laps. 37 seconds left to go. Today is a no weight required. Funny thing is, most of the guys are often weighed in. They say they're better with weight. Always coming around to maybe get another right, another lap out of Randy Kirtley. Tom Payton and Glenn Burden coming around the donut track, but it looks like Paul Woosley coming off, maybe losing a couple laps here. Guillermo Sire gets a lap, and so does Kirtley. They're right there neck and neck with each other. Randy Kirtley trying to get a little bit back also. He said very early on here, in a 3-lap progression here, but 3 as we get a red flag rotation. 84, 85, 87. All come around here, take a at what we go on this heat here. 87 laps Paul Woosley, Guillermo Sire 85, 84 laps Randy Kirtley, 80 laps Burden, 77 Tom Payton. Gabriel Kirtley's coming in next heat. See how things go. Leave you with the current lap standings. This is accurate up to July the 17th. We'll get these updated later on tonight. Today, July the 3rd. Of course, don't forget to check out our radio station live Let's Talk Racing on Tuesday nights at Ernesto's in Owensboro with Blake Smith, where they do go over all of our racers and their standing. We'll be right back with you here just shortly. microphone stand is. I guess I'm going to have to hold it. You know what a microphone stand is for this? Ten seconds left to go before we go live. I've had to opt out and use the wireless mic here at Lanes Raceway. I'm hoping that it's not choppy, but I have been told that it is choppy, the audio. I'm going to check the audio mix here real quick and make sure we're even getting anything coming in. It looks like it's coming in just fine off the wireless mic. I'm going to just have to monitor this through the best that I can. As we progress through. But I'll leave this open on a spot where you guys can't see it, so don't mess with you too bad. And I'll just hang on to this microphone. So as we can see, Paul Woosley still our leader. Guillermo Sire there with 86 laps. Randy Kirtley with 85. The only three to actually turn laps currently here. Gabriel Kirtley is coming in this heat, about to make his first lap here. Yeah, earlier this week, the microphone that we usually use, the one that's actually cutting out, actually fell off the top of the desk here, and that caused a little bit of an issue with the microphone. So it looks like I'm going to have to buy another pretty expensive microphone, which is very disappointing. But nonetheless, these things have to happen sometimes. And, you know, I was looking for my microphone stand a while ago, couldn't find it, kind of irritated about it. But I don't know, maybe it's under this table here. I really don't know where it's at, but I wish I knew where it was at. I'm getting attacked by the sheet here, so I don't know what's going on out there. People are looking at something. So maybe a hang up happening there on the red lane possibly. I'll tell you what though, folks, I know on a different subject here, but last night I was just playing around. What's that? Turned on yellow. What? Why? It's not that. There's nothing in red lane. Well, I don't know what they're doing. Would they lose something? There ain't nothing in red lane. It's their guide flags are too long. They need to trim them up. This flag does not like long guide flags. It don't. We've been over this a million times. Okay, well, they can continue to think there is. Drama ensues here at Lanes Raceway, folks, as we see all racers get the magnet out and the flashlight. Randy Kirtley here looking for anything in the track. Mind you that my wife does vacuum this at least once a week. There's nothing in this track. But nonetheless, we will let them do what they please. I encourage people to not use sharp-pointed guide flags here at Lanes Raceway. JK guide flags are illegal. Pampa guide flags are illegal. Any flat track guide flag that is about a quarter-inch longer than what you would see a standard Colford graphite guide flag, we do strongly, I reiterate here one more time, strongly advise you to use Colford graphite guide flags or similar size guide flags, whether it be Parma guide flags if you can still get a hold of them.
Parma guide flags, in my personal opinion, are the best guide flags that were ever made. Those little bitty Parma guide flags that used to come on the FCRs were, in my opinion, the best ones I've ever seen. They had a nice smooth texture to them, and they were smooth, and they kind of flexed a little bit, and they never did cause any problems in a track. But people using these new Mid-America guide flags with the arrow points on the tips of them, it's rough on these tracks. It digs into the track, digs into the braids, and eventually what ends up happening is the coating of the track gets ripped completely off, and you're into the wood. And they're just a little bit longer than what you would normally see with a graphite Cofer guide flag. They're about a 1/16 of an inch longer, and I know it don't sound like a lot, but it does cause them to get caught up in some of these high bank corners. The only thing I know to keep you from getting hung up in there is, like I said, to use those Cofer guide flags. They don't ever get hung up. We never have any issues out of them either. Paul Woosley, your current leader right there in the chicane S-turn, the arrow pointing at his car. He is your leader, and we're going back green racing. Coming off the yellow here in the horseshoe, we're going to follow him. Right behind him, Guillermo Sire, 2 laps down. We see Glenn Burden's car come off there on purple. My wife quickly gets him put on the horseshoe. Underneath the donut, around the donut here, on the back stretch, our leader, and we get a car off underneath the bridge. Dana Durham there getting that car put back on the bridge. Guillermo Sire's car coming off there on orange, costing him another lap. Randy Kirtley doing his best to try to make up. Several cars coming off between the S-turns there. Glenn Burden, Tom Payton, and Paul Woosley getting involved in an incident to the high side there on White Lane. Randy Kirtley and Guillermo Sire in the front of the horseshoe. 2 cars letting off, Tom Payton and Glenn Burden allowing Paul Woosley to go by, your current leader. Blue flag without the blue flag. As Paul Woosley goes to take the inside of Guillermo Sire accelerating a little too hard coming off the horseshoe there. His orange car getting a little bit out of control there, coming off on the back stretch. We see Tom Payton there reaching to get his car, gives it to Guillermo. Guillermo gets that car put back on. 4 red lights drop. We'll see a green flag rolling here. Paul Woosley with a scorching best lap of a 3.270, 2/10 faster than everybody out on the track as he's pushing that car to its limits. When we see a car run this good, usually it's just like Paul said, these motors are about to give. But, Paul's had a good race last week, and it looks like he's going to continue to have a good race here as he is 4 laps ahead of the competition. Randy Kirtley now taking second position. We have 3 setouts. Randy will be coming off this next heat to set his time out. Paul Woosley going to keep rolling on there on yellow lane. Paul Woosley, your leader, as he catches up with Guillermo Sire, your 3rd place runner right now. Gaining quite a bit, about 2 or so car lengths on him as Guillermo Sire does his best just to keep his car on there on orange lane. Paul Woosley is ripping through the orange track. All that hard work's been paid off in fold for Paul Woosley these past couple weeks. He come in and he spent several days hanging out with Tom on the days that Tom worked, and come in here a little bit before that doing some grudge matches with Tom and running around the track working on his car. And we can see that he's got that thing in tow, handling nicely. It's almost driving itself, it looks like, out there. We can see him coming out through the horseshoe really locked tight and true. Since we got those new wheels and tires, he's been forced to be reckoned with. Randy Kirtley seems to just not be able to catch with him. Randy Kirtley usually the guy here to beat, but we can see that the competition is starting to wane a little bit there for Randy. He might have to do a full rebuild of his car, but we do appreciate Randy today as he's helped build a car for me for a fellow racer here in the LMP Thunder race. I just really didn't want to put forth what it was going to take to put forth the effort required. To be honest, I was a little nervous working on it. I never worked on putting together a Group 7 or open class wing car before, but we had a guy come in here, Monty Baxter. He's in our Thunder Series, and he wanted a couple of these Group 7 wing cars. And, of course, our track's a little bit too small to be running them. They're super, super fast cars for those that know slot car racing. Those kind of parts are kind of hard to get. and we were able to get enough to build 2 of them for him. And anyways, my brother built the first one, and the second one I had my dad build because I know they had both built Group 7 wing cars before. But the issue you have with those higher-ended wing cars and those kind of builds like that is that they're aluminum. So, aluminum does not solder. It has to be coated with something to be able to be soldered. And usually when they do those coatings, it's really, really thin. And if you rub through it, you could ruin a chassis. So I didn't want to, I wanted to make sure it was done right. Proper flux was used and everything like that. Simply that car would be a car built correctly. And I know that Randy Kirtley used to build those cars back in the late 90s and 2000s and stuff like that. And Gabriel Kirtley, he's got some experience wiring pinions and stuff on motors and stuff like that. So it's better left in the hands of professionals, and I do appreciate Randy for doing that. So that really probably did cut into a little bit of Randy's time there where he would normally be working on his car. But he's had several good races here in the LMP Thunder Series. He races because he loves it, not because he finishes first. He's always just one of those kind of guys that push as hard as he possibly can every time he races. And I guess it runs in the blood, I suppose. We're always trying to make a better stream here for you. My brother, every time he comes, he's looking to get it even better than he was the time before. So I thank him for that. Of course, I'm happy that Paul Woosley is having the run of his days. Halfway turning point of our racing was last week, and it looks like maybe Paul Woosley's turning over a new leaf here. He might be the guy to beat in the second half of the LMP Thunder Series moving forward. Paul Woosley out in the lead with 154 laps to Randy Kirtley's 148 and Guillermo Sires 147. Glenn Burden there really close in tow with 144. Him and Tom Payton there kind of battling each other for 4th place currently. 144 laps of Tom Payton. Gabriel Kirtley just coming in this heat with 62. We fall back and take a look at our current leader coming around the backstretch up underneath the donut portion of the track around through the S-turns as he comes to reel in the car on orange, who is orange, Guillermo Sire. As he goes, Paul Woosley to go on by. Paul Woosley now reeling in Guillermo yet again as he makes the pass on the inside around the donut track. Him and Guillermo neck and neck, but he's able to inch in front of Guillermo. Guillermo coming into lap traffic here of Randy Kirtley. Paul Woosley too. Randy Kirtley accelerating just a little too hard there, coming through the horseshoe, trying to keep in front of Paul Woosley and Guillermo Sire. Losing pretty much a lap there as we see Paul Woosley there on the inside of the horseshoe. Tom Payton right there to his outside. Tom Payton did not lift, kind of hammered it home. And we see Tom Payton trying to rush Guillermo Sire there as we get a red flag and both of them meet up underneath the bridge. In this red flag rotation, we can go and take a quick look at these guys' current laps. Total laps, 176 of Paul Woosley, 168 of Randy Kirtley, 168 of Guillermo Sire, running neck and neck with each other. Averagely speaking, 84-84. Glenn Burden there, 163, battling with Tom Payton here. 161, 163, 81.5, 80.5. And Gabriel Kirtley on his first time in with 78 laps on white, respectfully. As we see this, I'm going to leave you guys with current pinball standings and be right back with you. All right, folks, 5 seconds left to go. We're going to see those red lights drop. So we can see Gabriel Kirtley rushing around there to get his controller. We got first-time runner here, Action Jackson there on red lane in the Corvette, sponsored by Randy Kirtley, to allow him to get in this race and test his luck as he wants to move up to the intermediate classes here coming up. Getting hung up a little bit there in red lane. Been having quite a few of those issues here. Oh, Dana, never pull a car backwards, man. For those that don't know, never pull cars backwards because of the braids. You can run them. That car is very, very low to the ground, so we do forgive Dana for that. Those cars being that low to the ground, it's tough to get them into those slots. If you're not a experienced track marshal, you know, it's very, very tough, but we appreciate Dana helping. He always helps track marshal, and he can only get better. As we see, well, it keeps looking like a car's coming off, but I don't guess it is. Jackson out there doing a pretty good job there, staying on there, already running 7 laps, turning it to his 8. Paul Woosley, your current leader there, 189 total laps there. On orange lane. As he comes around to get Guillermo Sire again there on white lane. The inner lanes are kind of tough there for Guillermo, we've noticed here previously. Loud track call called. Car coming off on the back stretch. Guillermo saying that his car is jumping. Paul Woosley there on orange lane, just past the start-finish line. He comes up underneath the donut portion of the track. He's kind of out in no man's lane as he is trying his best to reel in a few of these guys. Action Jackson completely spinning that car sideways to the S. So is Gabriel Kirtley. Paul Woosley getting involved in the incident. Randy Kirtley quick on the draw, calling quick draw McGraw, folks, as he was able to get all of those guys put back on in a super timely fashion. Quick hands McGraw again there, folks, as he grabs Action Jackson's car that spun out there on red lane. Jackson actually doing a pretty good job with the car at hand that he has currently. This car, of course, we know from the past that Randy Kirtley has drove it. It's a little bit behind pace, but a good car to get Action Jackson moving up to the next class here. So far, Action Jackson got a nice smooth roll about him as he dive bombs down in there deep with Guillermo Sire, our second place runner currently. And that just goes to show you that Action Jackson has had some time here on the orange track with his GRC. That's why we love to teach our rookies with the GRC class, because they are harder to control. They are slower, but they are harder to control. If you can learn that, though, with those cars, you should be able to run the LMP series no problem. And as you can tell, the LMP series cars, they handle just a little bit better, and we can see Jackson doing a pretty good job there. Granted, he's running a little bit too deep with Guillermo. Guillermo knowing the S-turns just a little bit better, checking him up a smidge, causing him to wreck. But that's just something that you learn the more that you race. We see Tom Payton sliding off there in the horseshoe. Randy Kirtley quickly getting him put back on. Our current leader, Paul Woosley, stepping out in front of people by about 20 laps. Paul Woosley there on Orange Lane as we get a track call to happen. Randy Kirtley on the track call button. We got a car there off on Black Lane 2. That car being Glenn Burden. Gabriel Kirtley, 133 laps, turning 55 this heat. Paul Woosley there turning 56. These guys are neck and neck with a median of 3.42 and 3.348 and 3.340. As we get another track call, loudly expressed. But a neck-and-neck battle currently going on between Paul Woosley and Gabriel Kirtley. It's going to be exciting to see if Paul Woosley is going to be able to dethrone Gabriel Kirtley. I know that earlier this week, a little bit of trash talk was talked amongst these two individuals. I know Paul Woosley saying that he was going to hang it out there and smoke Gabriel, and Gabriel was saying that he's coming Sunday just to smoke Paul. So we'll see how that works out. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, undefeated. Needing a track call there. The wife gets them. Several cars coming off in the horseshoe. Randy Kirtley, best track marshal we have, folks. Best track marshal we have, as he is definitely putting in work for sure. This track place, Lanes Raceway, would not be the Lanes Raceway it is without Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley. It looks like a complete looks like Guillermo Sauer having some issues with his car or something going on. We will give him 30 seconds. All right. Yep. We get 30 seconds, folks. That's what you get. And then we need to get this baby rolling. That's what we've done for the past couple series. It seems to work. Makes people be a little bit quicker. And as you can see, he did get pretty lucky there as one of the cars come off down low. I believe it was Glenn Burden's car came off. So he didn't get hurt too bad, maybe a tenth or so second. So we see Glenn Burden's car getting hung up there on Black Lane, coming around the horseshoe portion of the track. Paul Woosley, your current leader, a median of 3.42, the best out there, folks, and a 3.348 best lap. Second best to a 3.340 of Gabriel Kirtley. I just heard Gabriel Kirtley tell Paul Woosley to slow down. Paul Woosley has been putting in such hard work. I don't believe he wants to slow down anytime soon. He's wanting to take over the lead of King of the track here at Lanes Raceway. King Woosley, I guess, is what he wants to be known as. King Woosley. He has wore the crown for the circle track last banquet. Randy Kirtley wore the crown for the orange. We'll see if he can take the orange this time. 14 seconds left to go. I know for a fact that him, Glenn Burden, Randy Kirtley, they're in here constantly working on their cars. And, you know, these guys deserve to be on top for as much work as they put in. I am a strong believer in it. Paul Woosley, your leader after round robin heat 3 of 10, 87 laps total turned. As we move to scene 5 here, maybe do a little bit of comparison here if we can. Really don't have enough information to do a whole lot of comparison here, but we can see Guillermo, our second place runner, and Tom Payton here, 89-85 here. And we can see that they're kind of staggered out, almost like a chessboard in a way. So we'll need a couple more heats of understanding here before we can do any kind of direct comparison. But we can see all over the board here: 81.5, 81.3, 87.7, 80.7, 84 of Randy Kirtley. You know, in the 80s. Action Jackson, his first time in, turning 61 total laps there. I'm going to leave you with the current standings and be right back with you. All right, folks. So that's kind of funny. I just had a conversation out there with Action Jackson and Guillermo. Jackson saying, "Man, I was running next to Guillermo, and he kind of bumped me off a couple times." I said, "Yeah, he checked you up," and he says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, you don't need to run him that deep through the S turns." So what he did is he kind of, got on the brakes a little bit, showed you his backside to kick you off. I said, "I watched him do it twice in the S turn to you." And then Guillermo come up and reiterated, he's like, "Yeah, he was running me deep up in there." I said, "Well, that's the difference between an amateur and a pro." So, most people that's been doing this quite a while knows that you don't run side by side through an S turn like that, unless both of you are running right at the same speed. If one of you is a whole lot different speed-wise than the other, being slower, you definitely don't want to run with a faster guy up through the S turns, because all he's got to do is brake check you up and you'll come out. And that's essentially what happened with Guillermo and Action Jackson. Of course, he didn't know no better. Jackson just now coming up in this race, didn't know that you could check people up. I don't even know if he knows how to check people up and throw it back out into them. So, but Guillermo gave that a little bit of a taste of that to him in Heat 3. And I just told him, you just got to back it up a little bit, Jackson. So maybe he can learn from that. And just, if the guy's faster than him, let him go by on a straight stretch. And try to regain that time, if you can, somewhere else on the track. Paul Woosley, 384 total laps, your current leader, running 22 laps with the rest of the field. Tom Payton, second place. Glenn Burden, third. Gabriel Kirtley coming up there in fourth place, running 3.48 on average and a 3.397 respectfully. Glenn Burden, your current best lap and best median lap turner, 3.43 and a 3.377. A stalled car there on Black Lane of Tom Payton, a little bit of a touch. Tom Payton's motor might be setting out on him here. Usually when we see this, one side of the motor's kind of kicking out. And, sometimes we see them burn up. Sometimes we see that take place. But it could be the side of an end of that as we get a full speed come apart here, on the back stretch between Paul Woosley and Action Jackson himself. Jackson coming a little bit overshooting there on the horseshoe. Nothing we ain't seen here before. Jackson there, right there behind Paul Woosley. Like I said, gear ratio is just a little bit different there, but Jackson doing an exceptional job for his first time out. The way that he's racing, keeping his car on, I would be surprised if he got last place. I would say just by the way he's keeping things on and keeping things together, he might actually be a little bit better than last. But I don't know. As we can see, all these guys here are several laps ahead of him just because of his car being as slow as it is. But for his first time out, he's just having fun, he said. And, you know, he's kind of the new thing to the Thunder Series here, getting his car involved in this. He was very nervous when we started. Gabriel Kirtley pushed him to get in. Of course, Gabriel sees what I see in Jackson. Jackson's going to be a good racer here in the future. Puts forth a lot of effort, always constantly pushing forward. Of course, all of our little rumblers do the same. But Jackson just a little bit more mature when it comes to his skills currently, and when it comes to the orange track. Jackson puts the most effort here in the orange track, as we've been seeing. When he first started, that's all he wanted to be on. He didn't want to run the oval. So his experience is what's had Randy Kirtley's eyebrows up in the air, wanting to let him try to borrow a car, and Gabriel Kirtley also. And it's kind of cool to see him in here battling it out. Paul Woosley there on White Lane. We see him coming around on the back stretch here, up underneath the donuts. He makes a nice move here, trying to reel in that car on blue of Gabriel Kirtley, if he can. Gabriel Kirtley kind of holding his own, though, 3.44. Paul Woosley's 3.50. It's going to be kind of tough for him to reel him in as tight and as close as Gabriel Kirtley is running. Gabriel running some pretty good lap times here on a median of 3.42 and a 3.314. Hardly any wrecks taking place here. I think we've seen Jackson wreck 3 times this heat. Other than that, the track getting run in nice and smooth. Everybody's tires staying pretty warmed up, motors too. As we get a track call here, several cars coming off, involved in an incident. Hot back here, yet again, my computer cooking me to death with the 90-degree Celsius CPU, drying my eyeballs out and my throat. So after this heat, definitely going to have to get me a water or something. But Paul Woosley, about 20 laps ahead of his closest competition there, Tom Payton. Paul Woosley going to come out after this heat, his best lap of a 3.351 to be compared to Gabriel Kirtley's 3.314. We're talking a difference between 0.04 of a second. What boils down to at the end of the day, when you're that close running with each other, keep your car on the track. I reiterate, keep it on. If you can do that, you'll win. But most people can't. Most people can't make it a full race without wrecking. So we get one off the grid and on their lid there in the back stretch. Paul Woosley reaching down to get it. That is the car of, I believe, Glenn Burton. Round robin 4 of 10. 1 minute left to go. Paul Woosley coming around the donut portion of the track nice and smoothly as he comes to reel in a couple more of victims there, one on yellow, one on black. That's Glenn and Tom. We'll see if he can make those passes. And he dive bombs down low, and he's able to make the passes. But they're staying right there close with him, especially Glenn Burton. Glenn Burton really hammering it home there on yellows. Glenn Burton's not giving him any room to move here. As he pushes real hard there on yellow, staying in front of Paul Woosley. Now advancing that lead by about 3 car lengths now. Both of these guys neck and neck, and Paul Woosley getting caught up in the incident there, losing about 3/4 of a lap. Action Jackson on the backstretch with Glenn Burton, the battler, there on the backstretch. Green and yellow lanes as we go back. Green racing. Paul Woosley, your leader, coming up around the donut portion of the track, trying to make up some lost time there, trying to reel in Glenn Burden there on yellow lane. But he's about 7 or 8 car lengths ahead as Glenn Burden comes off the track there in the horseshoe, over accelerating, causing the back end to step out and snap around. We can see a couple cars when the track got shut off fall up underneath the bridge. Guillermo Sire and my wife T there getting them put back on. The car you see in the horseshoe, that is Action Jackson coming around there on the green lane as he's trying his best to see if he can make any kind of passes. And we get a red flag rotation. I'm going to take you over here to look at some pinball stuff.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth. Aiming and shooting, the basics.
Let's try shielding this time.
Welcome to 8 Flips. Shielding. You can shield the center drain by raising and dropping the flippers, depending on the ball's position. If the ball is coming from an angle, you can reduce the center gap by holding up one flipper. Be aware that closing the gap on one side will open it on the other. That's why you should only raise the flippers when it's necessary and let them drop again afterwards. You can achieve the greatest flippers reach when the flipper is at right angles to the angle of incidence of the ball. Consider the circular motion of the flippers in order to max out your reach, a skill which evolves with experience after seeing thousands of balls training. Flipper management. If the ball heads towards the flippers, there are many control techniques you can use, like dead bounces, dropping live catches or nudge passes, explained in my other tutorials. But what do you do if the ball is coming in higher at the inlane area? Here are some examples of what can happen. To avoid the center drain, simply raise the flipper and wait for the ball to settle. Most of the time it will bounce off to the opposite flipper, where you can get back in ball control. If the ball is coming in even higher and triggering the slingshot, the increased ball speed makes it much harder to anticipate the ball. Raise the flipper and wait until the ball has crossed the center line. Now raise the second flipper while dropping the first again. It's important to wait for the ball to cross the center line, so it might not open the door for unexpected or misread rebounding balls. Dead sling. Normally you would expect the slings to fire if the ball makes contact, but sometimes, especially on balls coming from a steeper angle, the switch might not be triggered, causing the ball to roll down the middle. Don't get caught off guard and raise the flipper. Lower sling post. Whenever you are going to shoot up the inlane, raise your second flipper preemptively right after your shot. The possible rebound of the lower sling post can result in a drain, and it's too fast to react on. It doesn't matter if you're doing alley passes or just want to park the ball in the inlane as a safety response. Always raise the second flipper. Various examples. Here I didn't raise the second flipper and paid the price. Now I raised the second flipper but didn't drop it soon enough. Here everything was executed well. In this situation I was too slow with dropping my second flipper. Here I raised the right flipper for protection, but as I realized I couldn't reach the ball, I dropped it so that the ball wouldn't get caught beneath it. After the following shot I raised the right flipper again to shield the center drain. Most of these moves.
All right, folks, 4 red lights. We're going to drop out to a green, and we're going to go back racing. So we can see Tom Payton now taking over the lead, followed by Glenn Burden with 3:26. These guys have been battling all race long within 1 lap of each other as we get a paused lap here. We see Paul Woosley, your current leader there, helping track marshal. Wild West in there in the picture with a radical shirt with some guy with some spiky hair on there. Guillermo Sire there at the end of the track also helping track marshal, and then T there on the outer portion of the donut, or the upper portion of the donut. Randy Kirtley now back in, 172 laps as he comes back in on red lane. Track call. Paul's got a car there on blue, needs to be seated, and we're good to go. Randy Kirtley in the high banks. He comes around the donut portion of the track, down through the back stretch. Randy Kirtley here as of late has been the guy to beat, but Paul Woosley last Sunday made a great showing and now is the current leader. We'll see if Randy Kirtley can put up a battle with him later on today. Also, Gabriel Kirtley, some stiff competition. See if he can put up a battle also. Gabriel Kirtley there currently 261 total laps, a median of 3.45, our current best here, and a 3.353, our current best lap. So Gabriel Kirtley definitely forcing the subject, as he was practicing earlier with no weight in the car. And once he put the weight off of his car, he come out and raced, he realized it wasn't as fast as it was with the 14 grams of weight that we put in it. So he put the 14 grams of weight back in it, and now it seems like that thing is really flying. And right now he's about neck and neck with Paul Woosley's car and how fast it's going. Both of them running Gemini chassis, of course. And I'll tell you what, Gemini seems to be on top in this race series currently, as long as you can keep them from getting bent. As long as the car stays unbent, these cars are quick. They got that extra little flex in the center being so weak there. It allows these cars to be quite quick. See a several car pile up there through the S turns. One of the car, Glenn Burden and Action Jackson there on blue lane. Action Jackson actually doing exceptionally well, keeping his car into the pocket of the lane. Hardly any wrecks. We've been having quite a good racing experience here tonight, running through these heats like it's 2-minute heats. All of our guys getting their cars staggered down. I was talking to Guillermo and Amani earlier, and how that, running the glue in about an hour before the race tends to help keep these guys on a lot better than getting the race started up and rolling and having them run it in. It seems like everybody gets their stuff warmed up together and makes it a little bit more better of a racing experience, keeping those back ends under control. Tom Payton there on yellow lane, holding it down as he's got a car on his outside there on purple, Gabriel Kirtley. Gabriel wanting to make the pass, but Tom not letting up. Tom Payton's overall speed there, as both of them get involved in an incident underneath the bridge. Something like this was bound to happen. The differences in gear ratio was tremendous between these two. You could tell Gabriel Kirtley quicker through the S turns, donut, and horseshoe, but Tom Payton there very much quicker on the straight stretch, kind of increasing that little bit of a distance there. Gabriel Kirtley quicker on the draw there as they go through the S portions of the track. And now Tom getting involved in another incident there on the horseshoe, or the donut, pardon me. Gabriel Kirtley keeping his median to a 3.35, turning 47 laps there. Randy Kirtley right there in tow on his beautiful red lane that he loves. 3.54 and a 3.391 as his best. These guys, top competitors and stiff competition. Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, and Paul Woosley now stepping up into that game mixture. Followed by, I would say, a secondary of Glenn Burden, Tom Payton, and Guillermo Sire there. It's all about how much you put into a car and keeping it out of incidents. You can be just as fast as the guys, but they call it game sense when we're talking about video games. The stuff that is not fundamental, I guess you would say. It's the stuff that's beyond fundamental, like what do you add to the game that is specifically you. And the things like being able to predict whether a car is going to wreck, depending on how fast it was the previous race or previous lap, things like that. We would consider that somewhat of track sense, I suppose. And it seems like Paul Woosley is now getting a pretty good grasp of that, staying out of incidents. Gabriel Kirtley and Randy Kirtley, of course, have a really good track sense. Here recently, but their speed, Guillermo, Glenn's, and Tom's, their speed's right up there with them. It's just a matter of getting involved in incidents. All these guys could be right there running for first place. It's just simply, can they keep their car from wrecking? And it's tough, knowing whether or not that person's going to be able to hold it coming up under the bridge or whatever it may be. The times that you're seeing right now where everybody's kind of spaced out and not giving anybody any kind of trouble, those are few and far between. A lot of times you got to make those guesstimations, as you've seen Paul Woosley there, seeing out of the corner of his eye that car that wrecked there, Jackson, coming out of the horseshoe just a little bit hot. That's a part of that track sense, being able to see more with your peripheral vision than with your vision that you're focusing on your car with. Listening is another one like that we just heard there, that hard hit. That's something that, makes the eye glance to where that noise is. Well, while being able to do that and being able to glance back to your car, these are skills you got to acquire if you're going to be racing on the orange track. And, some of the guys are quite better at it than others. That's why you see Gabriel Kirtley and Randy Kirtley racing up towards the top, as their eyes have gotten accumulated over slot car tracks for so many years, that they can hear that stuff and know whether or not they're going to be able to escape those wrecks. Same thing happens in big car racing, too. As we can see here, just some direct comparisons here with our current leader, Paul Woosley, 347 here before he went for the break. Still got nothing to compare him and Gabriel Kirtley to, but we can kind of see the intermediate between the two here, white lane and orange lane here. We can kind of see they're on par with each other. Orange and blue being pretty close lanes together, 87 and 87, they're pretty close. Randy Kirtley the same way. He's running just a little bit down, but his red lanes, like I said, Randy Kirtley loves a red lane. We can see him turning 86 laps respectfully there on red lane. Paul Woosley there almost breaking that 90 limit of 90 laps turned, our record here in the LMP Thunder here. Will he make it tonight? Will he hit a 90? We don't know, but we're speculating that he possibly will. He was so close to it last week too. He's there on yellow lane with an 89. He's definitely got a possibility on purple and blue to maybe make that 90 lap hit. If I was to speculate, I would say probably blue lane would be the one that will tip him over to that 90. I'm going to leave you with the current standings here. We can see Paul Woosley there in second, Randy Kirtley in first. And I'll tell you what, all this can change. As we've seen here, we're about halfway through on the races. All of it can change. See you back in about a minute and 20 seconds. All right, folks, we are back. Guillermo in the wrong lane there. We get a double tap there. Guillermo put his car in the wrong lane there. He was supposed to be in red lane. That's fine. He ended up losing a lap over that, though. But we're back racing here, like I said. Tom Payton, still your leader right now, 412. We will see, get my head here. We'll see Paul Woosley on deck here. He'll be coming in next heat. I just had a conversation with him. He said, I'm not even pushing it out there. I said, well, whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working. Like I said, keep it on. Don't wreck. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, very, very close. We see Glenn Burton's car stalled on white lane. 30 seconds here. And here we go. Four red lights. We're going to drop out. Glenn Burton going to be out for a minute. I think he had a broke guide wire. This happens, folks. That's all about racing. It's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. You hate to see it, but that is how it happens. A little bit too much left and right, a little bit too many incidents, wrecks. We'll see Paul Wisdom with a nice gentle touch there, putting the car Guillermo Sire back on red lane. Glenn Burton there now in second place, 407. Him and Tom Payton's battle now probably ceasing to exist unless Tom has something similar happen to his car, but most likely that probably won't happen. Glenn going to drop down towards Gabriel's territory there. Glenn, of course, coming out after this heat, but I'm sure he wished that would happen with about 10 seconds left to go on the clock versus 4 minutes. You hate to see it. I mean, it happens, folks. Gabriel Kirtley currently running at 3.54 to Tom Payton's 3.52 average. Randy Kirtley's 3.53. All these guys running neck and neck. Like I said, these guys can run right there with each other speed-wise. It's just a matter of resolve and being able to keep their car on the track and hear those other cars wreck, and, you know, a lot of track sense, I guess you would say. And some of the guys still working on that track sense. That's the hardest thing to learn, is being able to have your ear ahead of your car while still being able to remain focused on your own vehicle and keeping that perfect line rolling. Glenn Burton getting his car put back on with the hot soldering iron rolling makes the easy work. 3 minutes and 25 seconds. Speaking of hot soldering irons, we have the 888 Hakos here at Lanes Raceway. Some of the best soldering irons you can get. I don't even think there is a better brand than Hako. In my experience, I think the Hako brand is awesome. Now, of course, Gabriel Kirtley experimenting with the Milwaukee battery-powered soldering iron. And I'll tell you what, I'm kind of intrigued by it, simply because you just don't have to hook up a cord to it. You know, that's the annoying part about soldering irons. But he says it works pretty good. Heats up really quick, too. So I might have to invest in one of those for the track. But I ain't going to do that until my Hako tip burns up. Like I said, those Hakos, man, decently priced. You know, we get pretty good prices here at Lanes Raceway. I think we sell ours for a little over $100, not much. And they're the best ones you can get. So we can replace all the parts and pieces for them too. And of course, if you're racing slot cars, whether it's flexies like these or wing cars or anything of that matter, you are constantly soldering in motors, soldering in gears. You know, it's one of the main tools used in a slot car arsenal. Tom Payton there, 444 total laps. Your current leader, 3.51 median and a 3.49. Tom trying to get some more of those laps built up, folks. He's very much approaching his fifth race here. I think he might have approached his fifth race at the last race. Let me check real quick just to make sure. Or his eighth race, I'm sorry. Yeah, so he's got his 8 races. Tonight we're going to see Guillermo Sire in his 5th race, Gabriel in his 4th. So they're moving on up, getting closer and closer as we continue on. Tom Payton, though, with 450 laps so far, this heat and next heat, then he's going to have to set out and be done. So we'll see if he can crack over that limit that he's had before, and hopefully he can. If he can, then, you know, we'll be able to replace one of those races for him. So we get a flag hit and insta hit back on. Glenn Burden there on white lane back in the mix, holding it down. Fastest median lap time turn currently right now is Gabriel Kirtley with a 3.46. Best lap of a 3.348 also. So Gabriel Kirtley really pushing the subject here. 53 laps total turned, but very, very close to him, Tom Payton with 52. So Randy Kirtley right there in the mix, 55-55. They're neck and neck, folks, black and green. Old Chili Dog, the track dog here at Lanes Raceway. He's back there chewing on him some plastic or something. I can hear him crinkling her out there behind my ear. He's been enjoying himself here since he's moved in with me and my wife. Everybody loves a Chili Dog. He likes to bite fingers, though. Have to smack that nose a little bit. Keep him from biting as much. Of course, he is a puppy, so we give him plenty of toys to chew on. He loves chewing on bottles and stuff like that. I told Tia, I said, you know, shoestrings. I think he would like shoestrings, but I'm kind of afraid that he'll get choked on it. So we went to the pet store to try to find something about shoestring size that's tied to something big so he can't swallow it. Couldn't find nothing really, so I guess you know, he's just going to continue chewing on bottles and stuff, busting his gums up. Guillermo Sire, they're having a little bit of issues with his car. 15 seconds left to go. Tom Payton, your leader right now. 489 laps. Median of 3.52. Right there with Randy Kirtley's 3.52. Both these guys running neck and neck. Gabriel Kirtley turning a total of 83 total laps here on Black Lane. Now a precipice of 84. Probably going to get about 85 to 86 before the track shuts off. And he was able to get 87. So what a heat for Gabriel Kirtley there on Black Lane, tying Paul Woosley's best of 87. As we swap over here, you can kind of see a little bit bigger of a breakdown here. We can see Paul Woosley and Gabriel Kirtley there tying out 87. That's pushing towards the upper limits. Of course, 90 being the record. Paul Woosley one lap away from that. I don't see anybody else reaching those very, very close 80 laps, 89 or 90. But Glenn Burden running consecutively there in the 80s, very, very high 79, but that white lane killing him, putting a 60 out there. You hate to see it any kind of times that guys have trouble. You know, these guys are trying to make better laps and stuff like that. Jackson holding an average of upper 70, lower 70, I'm sorry. He has an upper 70 there on green lane, but, you know, holding it in there, keeping his car on, that's the most important thing. And he's only 10 laps down from some of these guys. So it's very respectful to see him doing what he's doing. 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go. I'm going to leave you with some pinball scores and be right back with you. All right, folks, we're going to see those 4 beautiful red lights drop out to green, and then we are going to go back green racing. Paul Woosley back in the mix on red lane. As we can see, Gabriel Kirtley there on yellow. He's going to move to orange and then white. So he's got 2 more heats to go. So Gabriel's probably going to hold first place down for the next couple. Paul's going to have to keep his resolve for sure. And that's what's taking place. I knew that was going to happen. I just knew it. It happens every time. I never can make it all the way through a full one. Give me 1 second. We'll get this back up and rolling for you guys. Uh-oh. Come on now. Exit. There we go. All right. Good to go. It always happens right after a break. I don't get it. But nonetheless, we got you live back up again. Tom Payton, your leader here. He's going to come out now after this heat, and he's going to be done, folks. So he'll be our first one. Or actually, I think he might actually be able to come in on the last heat. He only has to set out 2, I believe. So Gabriel will actually be the first one that we'll see with a full amount of laps. Track call, Guillermo Sires' car coming off there as we see Action Jackson stretch all the way across the track to get him put back on the back stretch on green. Glenn Burden there, cooling off a little bit. I find it kind of weird. It's like a several car incident taking place there involving Jackson, Guillermo, and I believe Randy Kirtley. Dana Durham there fixing the front end of Jackson's Corvette. Glenn Burden there getting the car of Guillermo put back on green. Our next upcoming series, folks, is going to be super late models for sure. I believe, Guillermo Sires' car definitely experiencing some issues here as he gets booted all the way to the inside there up underneath the batteries of the track. Almost hitting the LED pack. That was a hard hit. 3 wrecks in a row. Something's going on there. Bristy, a golfer's best friend. I told my brother a while ago, I said, man, when are we going to crack some of these on the links and play some golf? He says, it's getting about that time. As I get older, I don't tend to play as much golf in the summertime. I usually play like 1, maybe 2 matches during the springtime. We had a great spring this year, but we were so busy here with our previous series. I didn't get a whole lot of time to mess around, and neither did my brother. He was quite busy too, dealing with a lot of stuff. So we only got to play once. So hopefully this fall we'll get to play a little bit more. Maybe things will kind of calm down a little bit more. And me and my wife planning on going on a vacation to Mammoth Cave and spending a couple days up there, taking that diamond tour, I think is what they call it, and getting on the canoes, going in those dark caves and stuff, seeing the little glow-in-the-dark bugs. Kind of excited about it. Of course, I don't know. I've been to the Mammoth Cave before several times. And I do enjoy how it's like always like 50 degrees in there and how big it is. Like every time I go, I think, man, you could put a full-fledged city in this thing and just like live here, you know? But man, how weird it would be if it collapsed. I know my mind kind of goes that way sometimes. I'm just like, oh, it'd be horrible. Sense of claustrophobia kind of takes over at that point. 3 minutes and 13 seconds left to go. Tom Payton still out in the lead. Gabriel Kirtley there, right behind him there, 4:58. He'll probably be able to catch that in the next heat. 3.33 is his median. 3.219, almost breaking over into the 3.1 second territory, Gabriel Kirtley. Very, very stiff, tough competitor when it comes to all kinds of racing. Gabriel Kirtley can take months, if not years off, come back and still be very, very tough to beat. He just has really good resolve, folks, and he knows exactly how much to push a car and how much not to, given by how much the tires can take. And, you know, like I was telling you about before, the track sense, he's got it, folks. Gabriel Kirtley, if you want to have stiff competition, definitely race someone like him, Randy Kirtley. They doesn't matter what track it's on. They race this good. They're just very, very good competition. See Randy Kirtley and Guillermo Sire there coming around the backstretch, neck and neck. Both of these guys giving it everything they got. Randy Kirtley there on blue lane. Guillermo Sire there, of course, on green lane. Lynn Burden grabbing that car, getting them out of the way. Randy Kirtley kind of losing back a little bit. I asked him a while ago if he thinks it's about time for a new motor. He says, I think it's getting about that time. Motors, just brush is wearing out. That's how these motors are. They wear out, and before you know it, you just can't keep up. Randy Kirtley, of course, running a 3.51 median. I mean, that's within a couple hundredths of a second, maybe a tenth of a second to Gabriel Kirtley's time. But, you know, that's a lifetime whenever you're looking at trying to win the whole thing. When you're running for the front, you got to have brand new parts for the most part. But I see it like this. Randy Kirtley right now, he can kind of sit back on an easy streak currently and run these old motors, as he is the leader right now by a few laps. Until that changes, I'm sure he probably doesn't want to make a change, because why spend money when you're on top? You really just don't have to. With headhunters like Gabriel Kirtley, Guillermo Sire, Glenn Burden, and Paul Woosley, and Tom Payton, I mean, you just got to keep an eye out for it all. So we see Action Jackson there getting ragdolled through the horseshoe, somewhat bulldozed, one might even say. Almost getting tossed completely off the track. Very eventful 7 round robin heat, as we've seen 2 cars already out busted up. We see Dana Durham there. Talked to him earlier, and he said, I finally got it. My hand stopped bleeding. He got bit by the LEDs, folks. The LEDs are sharp. I said, well, you want me to pour some Brisk tea on it? You know, that's why we have those track call buttons, so people don't have to rush to get up underneath there. But sometimes people try to rush and get them anyway. They don't like to see the track called, but I say just hit it. Action Jackson coming off, caused a little bit of an incident there. Paul Woosley with some pretty good track sense there, and letting off the trigger, not hammering him home. That's what it takes, folks. Tonight, having several frames dropped here, 1,024 so far. But it seems like so far the computer now not kicking out as much heat. Still warm in here. 1 minute left to go as we get 2 cars involved in an incident here. Jackson, of course, struggling there on the black lane, having some issues here. Looks like Paul Woosley messing around with a car here. I think Paul trying to get his braids laid back flat for Jackson. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, coming off there on yellow lane. Running 71 laps right now. Gabriel really pushing that car. He's hammering that car home. And mind you, folks, that's a stock car. Nothing done to that thing but 14 grams of weight added to it. He hasn't changed the gear ratio, hasn't changed the tires. It is legit a stock car. Now, of course, today he cleaned off all the mud and the dirt and the grease and stuff off of his chassis and his body and stuff. But other than that, folks, it is 100% stock. A lot of these guys, you know, oh, we need to get that car put back on. There we go. Car on black here. But, yeah, other than that, 100% stock car. A lot of these guys, you know, changing their tires and everything else. And a lot of times all you really need to do is just drive the car that you got, and it's fast. And that is a Gemini chassis for those that are wondering. That's what he's running, a 4-inch Gemini from Mid-America, fresh out of the box. Mid-America Mercedes-Benz body. So we get 2 cars into each other. One of them, Gabriel Kirtley, slamming the back of Action Jackson as Jackson comes out on the S-turn. 86 laps turn for Gabriel Kirtley on yellow. Next closest to him is Randy and Paul with 81. So good 5 laps ahead of them as we get 2 seconds left to go before we get a lane rotation. I'm going to have to check on Chili Dog, y'all. He is chilling and chewing on some stuff out there. So I'm going to leave you guys here with the current standings. Tom Payton, your leader, 572. Gabriel Kirtley, 513. Glenn Burden, 564. Paul Woosley, 431. Randy Kirtley, 424. Guillermo Sire, 403. And Action Jackson, 352. All right, so we're going to see 4 red lights drop out to a green, and then we're going to go green racing. Gabriel Kirtley already telling me he believes that Paul Woosley probably going to bring home the dub today. Said Paul Woosley is beating Randy and Gabriel to oblivion. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, here running everything he can right now with a median of a 3.33. Him and Paul Woosley here neck and neck. Of course, these two lanes pretty comparable between each other. Of course, green a little bit higher up on the hog there. So Paul Woosley wouldn't be expected to run as tight of a run as Gabriel Kirtley on orange. But I'll tell you this much, it's all going to boil down to just a couple of wrecks here. Best lap turn 3.280 of Gabriel Kirtley. But these times are so close to each other. We're talking just a couple thousandths of a second different. Hundredths of a second different, sorry. Randy Kirtley there in third place, about 8 laps down from Paul Woosley. But they are separated themselves from Guillermo and Jackson for sure. Gabriel Kirtley, of course, he's got to run this one, and he's going to be done after this, folks. Ooh, we get a full speed come apart here. Several cars involved in the incident. One of those cars being Guillermo Sire there on the blue lane. We are now in round robin 8 of 10. And another track call getting called here with 4 minutes and 8 seconds left to go. Our upcoming race here coming up next is going to be our Rookie Rumble. That's our adult class for the rookie race. And that'll be coming up around 7 o'clock, hopefully. But it looks like we're going to be a little bit late to that race simply because we had ghosts in this one. We would be done right at 7 o'clock on the nose if we didn't have track marshals. But alas, we added 3 ghosts for track marshal purposes. But it should just be about 10 or so minutes after 7. We should be getting that up and going. We'll stop this stream and then we'll jump right into it as soon as I get it up and running. Tom Payton quick getting them cars put back on. So get another yellow flag there. We see Tom Payton, Guillermo Sire's car coming off. It looks like a tire or something coming off. We get a yellow flag call here. It looks like that's Gabriel Kirtley's car coming off on orange. Gabriel trying to push as hard as he can to be able to make it to where that Paul cannot catch him. Paul, of course, on green lane. He's going to go from green to red to white, I believe. Or no? So to green to blue to purple to black. I can't remember the rotation. It's horrible. I run this place. I can't even remember the rotation. So green goes to blue. Yeah. So Paul definitely going to be able to increase his speed for sure in these next couple heats. I think Gabriel Kirtley might be right. There's probably no hope for him or Randy Kirtley unless Paul does some serious coming and falling apart wrecking-wise. But his car has just been smooth handling. He's just been keeping her on the track and running a good race, not letting the nerves build up or cause any issues. And as we can see, it's just been a hard-fought race for him. He's come a long way since he's been building and working on this car, and he's got a backup car, too, the same way. Both these cars are able to run a 3.2, 3.3 second lap time on average. And as we can see here, his best lap times are 3.260. That's right at 100th of a second faster than Gabriel Kirtley's and Randy Kirtley's. So, you know, of course, Gabriel Kirtley is running about 100th of a second faster median-wise than him. But that, and on the grand scheme of things, folks, that's not even a quarter panel of a car a lap. So as long as he just keeps his resolve and doesn't wreck, that average will stay where it's at, and he'll be in perfectly good condition. Randy Kirtley getting involved in a little bit of an incident there with, I guess you would say, his teammate there, Action Jackson, being that's one of Randy Kirtley's cars there that Jackson's running there on the Corvette. A little bit of a brake check there on the backstretch for Jackson as he goes to let some of the guys go by. It's a kind thing for Jackson. .62 laps. Gabriel Kirtley to 62 laps of Paul Woosley, followed by Randy Kirtley with 59, just holding back, hoping that these guys are going to bust out here. But I don't know. I think these guys have now finally solidified and found their way around this track, holding their cars into balance. It's going to be close between Paul and Gabriel Kirtley as we see a wreck take place here. Wreck, can't exactly see who wrecked, but one of the persons is Jackson, I believe, on yellow lane. Jackson and Randy. Paul Woosley actually wrecking there that time. Gabriel Kirtley looks like he might be able to turn somewhere around the 86, 87 lap turns here. He keeps his car in. Oh, somebody got him. It's either Guillermo or Randy. Of course, Jackson's a good sport about it, letting Guillermo go on by. He doesn't want no part of getting wrecked in the S turn, he says. .14 seconds left to go. Gabriel Kirtley's going to be pushing it, folks. He might get that 90 if he's lucky. Oh, looks like he's going to get, looks like he get 88. He choked right there at the end, folks. Nonetheless, what a race we're having here. It's starting to shape up to be something. As we see just a little bit of a few comparisons here between a locked up computer possibly. Here we go. There we go. So Gabriel Kirtley here, turning 88 laps, excuse me, to Paul Woosley's 87 on orange. It's still anybody's ball game here as we see Gabriel Kirtley 85.9, Paul Woosley 86.5. Man, Paul's running a race, folks. He is running one. Both him and Gabriel both turned 89 laps there on yellow. That might have been the heat to actually turn those 90 lap heats. Might not see a 90 lapper tonight. 88 laps turned there on green by Paul, though. What a green rotation he had for sure. 88 laps turned by Gabriel Kirtley on orange. He had a great one there. Minute and 44 seconds left to go. And I'm going to leave you guys here with a little bit of pinball.
Welcome, my name is Abraham, and here I'm gonna explain to you pinball skills in depth. Aiming and shooting, the basics. General rule for aiming. To begin with, you can use the playfield's artwork as a name guide. Each shot on the playfield has a different spot on the flipper, and the timing determines the direction of the ball. The same rule applies to the upper flipper, but those shots might be harder due to the increased ball speed and different angle of view. General rule for ball speed. The faster a ball rolls down the flipper, the more you have to compensate by shooting earlier. Here is a comparison between an inlane feed and a start from a cradle. Notice how much the shot position on the flipper changes. Shots near the tip of the flipper are tricky, because the ball accelerates as it rolls down the flipper and the possible time frame for a shot is shortened. Shots from a cradle. Shooting from a cradle will rule out most obstructive factors, and it's the safest possible way to shoot. Trap the ball until it's completely still, since the slightest ball movement can affect the shot. Learn essential tools for trapping like drop catches and live catches. I highly recommend to make them part of your skill set. Shots from an inlane feed. As you learn to shoot from an inlane feed, you will notice that the increased ball speed has an adverse effect on your shot accuracy. Counter the ball speed by flipping earlier and relearn the timing for each shot. Going back and forth between the feed from the inlane and the cradle start for the same shot will benefit you the most, since you can learn and understand the connection between ball speed and the shot timing. It may be tempting to just...
All right, we're back racing this heat 9 of 10. See Paul Woosley there, still in second place, but holding his own for sure, as this is the last heat for Gabriel Kirtley. He's going to come out here and have to set out the final heat, and he has currently got 607 total laps. I'm going to grab the clipboard real quick, be right back with you, and see what our, I think it was 689 if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's what it is, 689. So 689 total laps, I believe, is the most that we've seen here turned at Lanes Raceway. Got a yellow flag. 30 seconds is what they get to work on their car. That's all they get, though. Four minutes and 20 seconds left to go. This round robin 9 of 10. Looks like we're going to have plenty of track marshals to finish this out. My wife's going to come in here in the shop and help people out as we get ready to do the Rookie Rumble race coming up here shortly. We got one more heat after this, and this race will be done. It's running a little bit overboard, means that we had to put in ghosts for the race because of my lack of track marshals. As we see Weston there getting the car put back on. Tom's so good he didn't even know he had both those cars put in. He went ahead and hit the track call button anyway. Right now, Paul Woosley out in the lead turn laps of 20, followed by Gabriel Kirtley with 19. Both of these guys have been battling it out all race long. Randy Kirtley and Gabriel Kirtley actually closer in a battle, I believe, than Paul Woosley. Paul Woosley going to have a pretty successful this time if he can just get it above 600 before this next heat. I think he's going to give Gabriel Kirtley a run for his money for sure. So we got an under the bridge call here and a track call hitting for Paul Woosley. I think, no, it wasn't Paul Woosley that come off. But nonetheless, we got Tom Payton getting the car put back on. We see Guillermo Sire running as his car come off there on purple. It's going to cost him a couple laps there right before the start-finish line. Glenn Burden there in fourth position right now. 3 minutes and 18 seconds left to go. Fastest best time that has been turned here so far is a 3.302 done by Guillermo Sire right now. But the best median lap time is a 3.34 done by Paul Woosley. Oh, excuse me, I missed Paul Woosley. 3.223. So I'm sorry, he's got the fastest best lap so far. 38 total laps turned. Gabriel Kirtley right there with him with about 1.5 laps down. So really, really close. 641 total laps is what Gabriel's run right now. To be able to be somewhat competitive, he's going to have to get that at least in the 680 range. As we know that Paul Woosley and Randy Kirtley both run around 680 respectfully for sure. Paul Woosley there right now with 563, but he's still got another heat to go, and so does Randy Kirtley. As we can see, the difference between these two is somewhere around 14 or 15 laps. And that just shows you how much Paul Woosley's been working on his car here recently. Randy Kirtley probably having a down motor, some brushes wore out or something like that. Probably going to need a good replacement on those motors just to make it a little bit faster next time that he comes out. Maybe a swap in a gear ratio too, as we can see that that's several laps difference. But their lap times are relatively close, within about 0.07 of a second or so of each other. And Gabriel Kirtley there, right there neck and neck with Paul Woosley with a stock car from here at Lanes Raceway. So if you hear the dog in the background, that is Chili Dog here at Lanes Raceway, the track dog at Lanes Raceway. He probably needs to go to the bathroom. Minute 58 seconds left to go. And we can see Gabriel Kirtley might actually hit that point of about 680 or so laps. Now, we know Paul Woosley has the record right now, I think, at 689. So we'll see if he can outdo himself. Of course, he's wrecked a whole lot less. Tom Payton quick with his hands there through the S-turns. He gets Guillermo Sire put back on. We get another track call there. Tom Payton quick on the draw. You can come see Tom Payton. He is a worker here at Lanes Raceway on Monday and Tuesday. If you just want to do a little bit of testing and tuning, maybe getting a friendly grudge match race or something here, or just come in and play some pinball. We are now open Monday and Tuesday, and Tom Payton, he helps us out with that. He knows the track like I know the track. You can see him. He's looking all over the place, trying to keep his eyes set on these cars, making sure to get these cars on as quick as possible. That's what you want in a good track marshal. And definitely Tom's doing an exceptional job here. About 1 minute left to go. Paul Woosley in second place, 588. If he can hit into that 600 range there, he's really going to be pushing Gabriel Kirtley for sure. And I think he's going to do that with extra. So Paul Woosley might actually break his record this time, where he had 589. He might actually get 600 laps this race, running a great race. Paul said earlier that he wasn't even pushing his car, so that's something to see, folks. Already running 75 laps here on Blue Lane, running a really good Blue Lane. Only a couple laps difference, 3 laps left to go before he's in the 600s, and about to be able to turn 80 or so laps per heat. He might actually be able to break his record. 30 seconds left to go. We're going to see. Now hitting that 600 mark. If he can just get 10 more laps here, things are going to go his way for sure, as he'll definitely be in the 690 range when he ends. Seconds left to go. Folks, it's going to be real close on him breaking that record going into White Lane. If he does an 87 just like Gabriel, he'll definitely break his own record here. Gabriel 1 lap shy of that record at 688, running an exceptional race here at Lanes Raceway. Like I said, one lap shy of the world record here in the LMP Thunder Series. So, and I hate to say it, but it looks like Paul's got him hand over fist. Even if he just runs 80 laps in the next heat, Paul Woosley, going to be on purple. So we're looking at the lowest here, 73 laps, which he'll definitely outrun that. But let's just say on average he runs 83 laps. He'll still be able to beat it. he's gonna break his own record here tonight as long as his car sticks together. Averagely speaking, 87 total laps average. To Gabriel Kirtley's 86, 1 lap above him. Randy Kirtley, our usual front runner, 84.7, definitely going to have to do some works. All his stuff in the upper 80s. But we do see Paul Woosley tie the world record for laps turned here at Lanes Raceway on Blue Lane with 90. Minute and 37 seconds left to go. Going to leave you guys with some pinball scores and be right back with you. All right, folks, here we are. Last heat of our LMP Thunder Series here at Lanes Raceway. Paul Woosley, your current leader, already with 611 laps. We are going to see him definitely break his record today if he runs like he's been running already, a 3.52 best lap, just getting started. So he also just tied our best laps turned here of 90 laps there on Blue Lane. No one's made it to 91 yet, but he got pretty close there, so tied up for sure. Randy Kirtley there in second place. He's down by about 20 laps or so. So as long as he doesn't get in a lot of wrecks here, I think we're going to see him take home that victory for sure. Gabriel Curley hitting the flags. We see a car coming off in the backstretch. That is the car of Jackson Darty, also known as Action Jackson. He's going to be getting ready to do the Rookie Rumble race here shortly. So we see Guillermo Sire there wrecking on the outside there. Tom Payton getting him put back on Black Lane. Four minutes left to go. Randy Kirtley in second place, down by about 20 laps or so. Tom Payton there in third, and Guillermo Sire. Everybody kind of spaced out a little bit, but Guillermo and Glenn Burden there having somewhat of a battle. 3 laps difference from each other. Paul Woosley there, he's just running off and leaving folks here. And like I said, 689, I think, is total laps of the most turns. He's definitely going to probably beat that here today. He's already ran 23 with 3 minutes and 45 seconds left to go in this 8-heat round robin. Nice pass done by Paul Woosley there on Purple Lane as he passes right by Guillermo Sire. Guillermo Sire running a little bit too aggressively through the horseshoe, coming out straight line through the outside wall there. Good competition here taking place here, though. Guillermo Sire probably was fixing to pop out right there if the track call button didn't hit. But that ended up seating him down so that he wasn't going to straight line the center section of that corner. Paul Woosley getting a little bit of help there by Dana Durham, moving their backside up. You can hear the squeaks of the GRC cars for our rookie rumblers getting ready to race coming up next. 3 minutes and 14 seconds left to go. Like I said, I think Paul Woosley is going to get into 700 or right at the 700 lap range here tonight. That battle between Guillermo Sire and Glenn Burden's heating up as we see Glenn Burden there on green lane. Guillermo Sire, of course, wrecking a little bit there on black lane. There we're Curly hitting the brand spanking new track call button there by the chair. As you can see, it's attached to the track now. Guillermo Sire made that for us. Guillermo Sire, of course, being an engineer, he comes up with all kinds of nifty little gadgets. He made our first track call button, but this one actually attaches to the track, so you don't got to hang on to it. And it's a pretty nice little hefty little button. It's all 3D printed. Come in handy for sure. As we can see, both of our track marshals have both of their hands free to be able to put these cars on the best way they can. 2 minutes and 16 seconds left to go. We can see Paul Woosley with 660 laps so far. All right, 670 laps turned by Paul Woosley. $5.99, 600. Glenn Burden taking over Guillermo Sire here. Guillermo Sire and Glenn Burden battling. It seems to be all race long, but it looks like Glenn Burden's going to take Guillermo right now. 58-54. So we get a pretty quick track call there. Don't know exactly what's going on here, but something is. Will Paul Woosley push the subject with 1 minute and 23 seconds left to go to beat his lap time? It's questionable. He's got 10 laps to do it and 1 minute to do it in, and he will beat his record. Randy Kirtley there of 661. It's going to be a good race for Randy. Most likely be able to replace one of his races. Glenn Burden, I believe he's going to be able to replace one of his races with 613. And it looks like we got 688 last lap. He looks like he's going to be able to do it easily. He might break 700 here, folks. He won't break 700 now. He has had an incident, but he'll get close. He will get close. 83 total laps. What a race Paul Woosley's had here yet again. Telling us on Facebook last week, take a picture. Probably the only time you see him in first place, but here he is doing it again this Sunday, just a week later, going to take home another victory and possibly get right at 700 total laps. So congratulations to Paul Woosley. So Paul Woosley going to take home first place with 698 laps, 688 laps, 10 laps down from Paul Woosley. He's on a league of his own now, folks. To Gabriel Kirtley, Randy Kirtley, 677 laps, so another 10 laps down. Tom Payton going to take in fourth place, Glenn Burden fifth, Guillermo sixth, and Action Jackson seventh for his first time out here at the LMP Thunder Series. What a race we've had here tonight. Going to go out there and talk to Paul Woosley and see what he thinks, and be right back with you. Paul, you told me to take a quick snapshot of our Facebook page because it'll probably be the last time we see you in first place. But what was that, about a week ago?
Yeah, week and a half or so.
But it seems like maybe I don't need to take those snapshots anymore. Maybe it looks like you're sitting pretty comfortable here, beating your last previous race by almost a full 10 laps. Are you starting to make a home for yourself in first position?
I don't believe so. There's pretty stiff competition. They're just having they're on their downside right now, and I'm on my up. It'll flip-flop here in a few weeks.
Well, what about this competition between you and Gabriel Kirtley? I know Gabriel Kirtley made a special trip here, said he was going to come here and smack you down a little bit. What do you got to say to Gabriel Kirtley about that?
Well, he just needs to go back to Bowling Green and don't worry about coming down here to travel with us, smacking on us.
What do you think about that, Randy?
Too fast for me. I'm going to have to go back to the drawing board and try to make up some time.
All right. Well, Paul, if you don't mind, here whenever T gets freed up, you, Gabriel, and Randy Kirtley, please step in front of the podium and get your picture made.
How you doing today?
Good. How you doing, Jackson? All right, folks. Thank you for tuning in and watching. This is Donovan Kirtley here at Lanes Raceway. God bless you, and I'll see you next week for the LMP Thunder Series here at Lanes Raceway. God bless you. Coming up next, Rookie Rumble. Stay tuned. We'll be getting that started here just shortly.